Good evening from the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your forecaster Jeff Monk looking at the planning outlook on the mountains for a week or so ahead. Broadly speaking, we are going to be looking at frequent rain and low cloud coming across the country in bands from off the Atlantic. The worst of the low cloud and rain is going to be focused on western mountains, perhaps particularly so the largest quantities over the western northwest highlands, although other western mountains do not look as if they will be very far behind. So let's start with a chart courtesy of the very useful meteorseal.fr site, some very comprehensive charts on there, very useful for both the layman and the meteorologist. Total rainfall for a week. If you can see the map background in here, if you can see the mouse looking at the east coast, the west coast of Lancashire, and then up the west coast of Scotland. Generally speaking, we're going to be looking at over the next week accumulations of around 70 millimetres. It'll vary considerably locally, but typically 70 millimetres on the western mountains of Wales and the Lake District, but probably more typically 90 as we get into western and northwest highlands, albeit there will be some peaks inside those, perhaps the southern and western fells of Cumbria having 10 or 20% more, and similarly Argyll, probably the mountains just to the south of Ben Nevis, where the air comes straight in off the sea, straight in off Loch Linnhe, straight in off Loch Etive. These are the areas that are most likely to see maximum rainfall. The greens toward the east will be looking at total quantities over the week of around 30 to 50 millimetres, so everywhere it is going to rain. Nowhere will escape the rain. So let's have a look briefly at what detail we can put on. And we're going to pick up the picture on Friday as we go through next weekend and into the early days of next week. Low pressure is going to dominate. Generally speaking, the low will be to the west or perhaps occasionally just to the north of Scotland, but generally out to the west, with southwest or westerly winds coming in. On Friday, probably a deterioration compared to Thursday, with showers becoming very widespread. There will be showers on Thursday, but well scattered, and cloud base fairly high. But as we go toward the weekend, it does look as if there will be a deterioration, with cloud hanging on the summits, even the highest summits in Wales and the Lake District for most of the day, and certainly across western Scotland. Probably only the highest summits in eastern Scotland, Cairngorms for example, may be or remain predominantly shrouded in cloud, whereas elsewhere, well inland, summits should clear. A bit of a spanner in the works is off Southwest Island, where a shallow wave on a front will begin to push northeastwards. This looks a little bit earlier and quicker than what it did a few days ago. It does look as if it's going to push rain eastwards quickly across England and Wales later on Friday and overnight. So if you are on the hills in Wales, perhaps northern England, late in the day, rain is likely to set in. However, it is likely to have gone by Saturday. By Saturday midday, the remnants of that rain way out in the North Sea. West or southwesterly winds will continue to bring showers across the country, but it may be that something of a trough will bring an hour or two of almost constant rain to western Scotland. That's just hinted at on here, though at a few days out, these fairly narrow troughs are very difficult to forecast, so we probably will not have it in the correct place. But broadly speaking, showers, cloud on the summits, and from time to time, showers coming through, and it may be that rain falls constantly for 2 or 3 hours, particularly on the western mountains in Scotland. Least rainfall, where there may be little, if any at all, across Wales and probably also the Peak District. And here, the summits probably coming out of cloud by midday. By Sunday, Southwesterly winds still low out to the west. Again, we may see troughs coming in from the west that mean showers will merge to give an hour or two of persistent rain. This most likely across the northwest highlands, but almost anywhere will have showers with a possibility of those merging to give perhaps an hour of rain. At times through the weekend and into early days of next week, quite blustery on higher slopes, and at the moment it does look as if Sunday will be one of the windier days. Typically over the weekend, early next week, on the highest summits, perhaps around 1200 metres across Scotland, temperatures typically 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. On the highest summits in England and Wales, typically 900 or 1000 metres, we'll be looking at around 8 degrees. Finally, a peep into next week. On Monday, an area of low pressure beginning to look rather complicated. Indeed, if you look over Lincolnshire, almost a second low there, but the reality is we do not know where these individual lows will be. What we do know is that broadly over northern Britain there will be an area of low pressure with individual centres, and these lows typically having cusps, often comma-shaped, of persistent precipitation over a couple of hours or so, areas of low cloud, and between there will be showers, and rarely an area which is free from showers. Now I say that really about Monday because as Monday is likely to be Tuesday, Wednesday, perhaps Thursday of next week, it does look as if the pattern is going to continue with rain regularly, eventually more organised bands of rain coming in off the Atlantic, but most likely the first part of the week it's these lighter winds with areas of low pressure generally just circulating in the vicinity of the British Isles. So quite a lot of low cloud. As I say, if you just happen to be in the right place on 1 or 2 days, and we can't say where yet, the cloud will break off the summits and there will be very few showers. But generally speaking, and I'll finish back with this, the accumulated rainfall does look as if it is going to be not far away from 80 to 100 millimetres over many western mountains.